The death of Michael McMorrow is a gruesome and strange case that's covered in the true crime series, Homicide, New York, but the show doesn't catch everything. One of the many Dick Wolf crime-focused TV shows, Homicide, New York is a documentary crime series that spends each episode investigating a different horrific and challenging homicide in the city, told through the eyes of the detectives and prosecutors. There have been 5 episodes of the true crime TV show and the second is titled Central Park Slaying. In the episode, Michael McMorrow's violent death and the subsequent investigation into adolescents Daphne Abdillah and Christopher Vasquez are depicted in detail. Abdillah and Vasquez were frequent visitors to New York City's Central Park, as are many New Yorkers, as was Michael McMorrow in May 1997. While Homicide, New York makes an effort to adhere to the facts as much as possible, these long, winding cases cover much more than any one-hour episode could ever completely report on. Michael McMorrow was a 44-year-old real estate agent from New York City. McMorrow was an aspiring musician. Michael Irish McMorrow, as he was known to his friends, was a 44-year-old real estate agent. Michael was a single man and lived with his mother on 93rd Street and 2nd Avenue in order to take care of the elderly woman. An aspiring musician, Michael was also a hard-partying drinker who had a large group of friends and a close-knit family, via Den of Geek. On an evening in May 1997, police were led to McMorrow's body after receiving a call from Abdillah. His corpse had been brutalized, with 30 stab wounds, including 6 to his heart and a gutted abdomen. McMorrow's head and hands were nearly severed from his body. The documentary leaves out that Daphne Abdillah and Michael McMorrow met through Alcoholics Anonymous. McMorrow, Abdillah, and Vasquez drank together in Strawberry Fields. A young Daphne Abdillah in court standing next to her lawyer in Homicide, New York. According to the documentary, this was a case of McMorrow being in the wrong place at the wrong time, but there is more to it than that. Barbara Butcher, who appears in the series as an analyst, also wrote a book about New York criminal cases, extending from her time as a death investigator in Manhattan, What the Dead Know, learning about life as a New York City death investigator. She writes in more depth about the Central Park slaying and reveals that McMorrow frequently went to Central Park and had met Abdillah in Alcoholics Anonymous, so there was history. According to Butcher, McMorrow was a friendly man who enjoyed binge drinking in a section of the park known as Strawberry Fields, an enclave named for its dedication to John Lennon of the Beatles. Abdillah and Vasquez were also drinking in the park and witnesses claim that the two approached McMorrow and his friends to hang out. Somehow, McMorrow, Abdillah, and Vasquez went deeper into the park, alone, where they continued to drink. From that point, there aren't even second-hand sources to say exactly what happened with McMorrow's murder. Daphne Abdillah made the call that led police to Michael McMorrow's body. Abdillah and Vasquez were found washing blood off one another. Central Park Lake in Homicide, New York. McMorrow's body was found floating in the Central Park Lake in the early morning hours of May 23, 1997, via FindLaw. The police quickly found the body because they were given a tip from Abdillah herself, who called from the majestic apartment building at 115 Central Park West. Naturally, the police went to the building and, in a detail left out of the show, found Abdillah and Vasquez in a bath where they were washing blood off one another. They claimed the blood was a result of a rollerblading accident. Abdillah quickly shifted the blame to Vasquez and presented herself solely as a witness. When the police brought the pair back to Central Park and the crime scene, Abdillah shouted out, "I tried to save you." The detectives present quickly poked holes in Vasquez's and Abdillah's story and had enough to bring them in for questioning. Detectives were able to identify McMorrow because he still had his ID on him, and they found his wallet back in Abdillah's room. They also found a knife with McMorrow's blood on it in Abdillah's possession.